Dad, why is that man crying? A small voice cuts through the crisp Los Angeles evening air. Shoppers turn their heads, phones already recording. There stands Keanu Reeves, action star, Hollywood icon, tears streaming down his face as he holds a worn teddy bear in his trembling hands. But this isn't a movie scene. This is real life. And what started as a normal Tuesday evening outside Mike's Toy Emporium turned into something that would touch millions of hearts worldwide. 20 minutes earlier, a little girl's sobs echoed through the street. Now, surrounded by flashing cameras and stunned onlookers, Keanu makes a choice that will change not just one family's life, but spark a movement of kindness across the city. Sometimes, he whispers, kneeling down to meet the tear-stained face of 7-year-old Sarah Martinez, angels don't have wings. They just have big hearts. This is what happened when one of Hollywood's most beloved stars met a crying child outside a toy store. The December air in Los Angeles carried an unusual chill as Keanu Reeves walked along Sunset Boulevard. He'd just finished another grueling day filming John Wick 5, his shoulders still sore from countless takes of fight sequences. The streetlights cast long shadows across the sidewalk, their amber glow mixing with the holiday decorations that lined the storefronts. Mike's Toy Emporium stood out among the high-end boutiques and restaurants, its worn wooden sign and vintage window display a reminder of simpler times. Through the foggy glass, stuffed animals, model cars, and board games created a kaleidoscope of childhood dreams. The store had been there for 40 years, refusing to surrender to the sleek corporate chains that dominated modern retail. That's when Keanu heard it, a sound that cut through the usual symphony of traffic and city life. A child's sob, raw and heartbreaking. Outside the toy store's entrance stood Sarah Martinez, 7 years old, her small frame shaking with each cry. Her dark curls fell across her face as she clutched her mother's hand. Elena Martinez, still wearing her waitress uniform from the diner 3 blocks away, tried to console her daughter while fighting back her own tears. Through the store window, a beautiful handcrafted dollhouse sat on display. Its Victorian architecture and tiny furniture represented hours of detailed craftsmanship. The price tag caught the light, $899. For the Martinezes, it might as well have been $1 million. Mama, it looks just like the one in my dreams, Sarah whispered between sobs, her breath creating small clouds in the cold air. Elena squeezed her daughter's hand tighter, the weight of 3 jobs and mounting bills visible in the dark circles under her eyes. Other pedestrians hurried past, some casting sympathetic glances, others deliberately averting their eyes from the scene. A young couple whispered to each other, their shopping bags from luxury stores swinging carelessly at their sides. Keanu stood frozen, 20 feet away. Something about Sarah's cries transported him back to his own childhood, to moments when his single mother had to say no, when dreams had to be deferred because reality wouldn't budge. His hand unconsciously moved to his jacket pocket, feeling the weight of his wallet. The neon open sign buzzed overhead, casting alternating red and blue lights across Sarah's tear-streaked face. In that moment, unknown to everyone present, something extraordinary was about to unfold. Keanu approached quietly, the way he'd learned to move during years of martial arts training. He didn't want to startle them. Sarah noticed him first, her eyes widening through the tears. She tugged at her mother's sleeve, whispering something that made Elena turn around. I couldn't help but overhear, Keanu said softly, his voice carrying the gentle tone he developed through years of meeting fans. That dollhouse is really something special, isn't it? Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her worn winter coat. Elena straightened up, that instinctive parental protection kicking in, even when faced with a celebrity. Her name tag from Annie's Diner caught the streetlight. Elena, service with a smile. Mr. Reeves, we don't want to bother you, Elena started, but Keanu raised his hand gently. Please, call me Keanu. And you're not bothering me at all. He knelt down to Sarah's level. Something he'd learned early in his career made children feel more comfortable. What's your name, young lady? Sarah, she managed between sniffles. You're the man from the movie with the dog. Keanu smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. That's right. Though I hope I'm nicer in real life than John Wick. This earned a small giggle from Sarah, the sound cutting through the evening air like a warm knife through butter. Elena shifted uncomfortably, her work shoes marking the long hours on her feet. Sarah, honey, we should go. Mr. Reeves probably has somewhere to be. But Keanu wasn't moving. His eyes had caught something. A small notebook peeking out of Sarah's coat pocket, its corners worn from frequent use. What's that you've got there? Sarah pulled out the notebook, revealing pages filled with crayon drawings. I draw houses, she explained, her voice growing stronger with enthusiasm. Beautiful houses where everyone has their own room, and there's a big garden with flowers. Elena's eyes misted over as Sarah showed Keanu page after page of colorful houses, each one more elaborate than the last. We live in a one-room apartment, Elena explained quietly. Sarah shares her corner with her little brother. She's been saving her birthday money for 3 years for that dollhouse. Keanu turned the pages carefully, treating each drawing with the respect usually reserved for fine art. These are amazing, Sarah. You know, I grew up in a small place too. My mom and I moved around a lot. Sometimes dreams feel very far away, don't they? Sarah nodded solemnly, looking back at the dollhouse in the window. Mom works so hard, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I told her I don't need it, but her voice trailed off as fresh tears threatened to fall. A small crowd had begun to gather at a respectful distance, phones discreetly recording the interaction. But Keanu remained focused on Sarah and Elena, as if they were the only people on the street. He noticed Elena's hands, red and chapped from washing dishes, a small burn mark on her wrist probably from carrying hot plates. How much have you saved so far? Keanu asked Sarah gently. Sarah reached into her other pocket and pulled out a small cloth purse. With trembling fingers, she counted out crumpled dollar bills and coins. $47.23, she announced proudly, though her voice wavered. Elena put her arm around her daughter's shoulders, and Keanu could see the weight of years of saying no in her eyes. He made a decision then, one that would set off a chain of events neither he nor the Martinezes could have anticipated. The evening wind picked up, rustling through Sarah's notebook pages. Keanu gently closed the book but kept it in his hands, his fingers tracing the worn cover. Other shoppers slowed their pace, smartphones emerging from pockets like fireflies in the growing dusk. You know, Keanu started, his voice carrying the weight of memory, when I was about your age, I had something I wanted more than anything in the world. It was a guitar, not a fancy one, just a simple acoustic guitar I saw in a shop window, kind of like this dollhouse. Sarah leaned forward slightly, her tears momentarily forgotten. Elena's defensive posture softened as she watched her daughter's fascination with Keanu's story. My mom worked 3 jobs too, he continued, glancing at Elena with understanding in his eyes. She was a costume designer, but she also cleaned houses and worked at a store. Every night, she'd come home exhausted, but she'd still find time to listen to me talk about that guitar. The growing crowd maintained a respectful distance, but their presence created a gentle bubble around the trio. Mike, the toy store owner, appeared in the doorway, his white hair and round glasses giving him a Santa-like appearance. He listened quietly, recognition dawning on his face. Did you get the guitar? Sarah asked, clutching her small purse tighter. Keanu shook his head, a soft smile playing at his lips. Not that one. But something better happened. A neighbor, someone I barely knew, saw me looking at it every day after school. One morning, I found a different guitar outside our door. It wasn't new or expensive, but it was perfect. That guitar taught me something important. What? Sarah and Elena asked simultaneously. That sometimes the kindest acts come from unexpected places. That stranger changed my life, not just with the guitar, but by showing me how a single act of kindness can echo through time. Elena's hands relaxed at her sides, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. She'd seen countless celebrities on TV and serving them at the diner, but something about Keanu's presence felt different, genuine, unscripted. A young woman in the crowd whispered to her friend, "Is that really Keanu Reeves?" The murmur spread, but Keanu remained focused on Sarah, who had begun showing him more of her drawings. "This one's my favorite," she said, pointing to a detailed sketch of a Victorian house, not unlike the dollhouse in the window. "See? There's a room for Mama, one for my brother Tommy, and one for me. And look, a garden where we can grow flowers." Mike, the store owner, stepped closer, his eyes moving between Sarah's drawing and the dollhouse. "You've got quite an eye for detail, young lady," he said warmly. "That drawing could be the blueprint for this very house." Keanu noticed how Sarah's face lit up at the praise, how she stood a little straighter. Elena watched her daughter with a mixture of pride and pain, the kind only a parent who can't give their child everything they dream of knows. "Mrs. Martinez," Keanu said softly, using her name for the first time, "would you allow me to hear more about Sarah's drawings? Maybe we could all step inside where it's warmer." Elena hesitated, years of hard-learned caution warring with the genuine warmth in Keanu's eyes. Sarah looked up at her mother hopefully, clutching her notebook and small purse. "I don't want you to feel obligated," Elena started, but Keanu interrupted gently. "No obligation. Just one person who knows what it's like to dream big, wanting to hear about another dreamer's visions." He gestured to the notebook. "These drawings, they're not just houses. They're hopes put on paper. And hope, well, hope is something worth talking about, don't you think?" A photographer who had joined the crowd raised his camera, but Mike stepped in front of him, blocking the shot. "My store, my rules," the old man said firmly. "Let them be." Sarah reached up and took her mother's hand, squeezing it gently. In that gesture was years of understanding beyond her age, of knowing when her mother worked double shifts, of helping take care of Tommy while Elena studied for her GED at night, of making her school supplies last longer than they should. Elena looked at her daughter, then back at Keanu, something in his patient waiting. The way he hadn't pushed or pressured made her decision. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "We'd love to step inside." None of them knew it then, but that simple "okay" would set in motion events that would change not just their lives, but inspire a movement of kindness across Los Angeles. The real story was just beginning. Inside Mike's toy emporium, time seemed to slow down. The old wooden floorboards creaked beneath their feet as Keanu, Sarah, and Elena made their way through aisles of carefully arranged toys. The store's interior glowed with warm light from vintage fixtures, casting a golden haze over shelves filled with treasures. Mike turned the open sign to closed, giving them privacy from the growing crowd outside. The dollhouse sat on its display pedestal, even more magnificent up close. Sarah approached it cautiously, as if it might disappear if she moved too quickly. Keanu stood back, watching the scene unfold. His mind wandered to his own mother, how she'd sacrificed everything to give him opportunities. He remembered the nights she fell asleep at their kitchen table, surrounded by costume patterns and bills. The memory stirred something deep within him. Each piece is handcrafted, Mike explained, opening the dollhouse's front panel. The furniture, too, took an artisan in Vermont 6 months to complete. He demonstrated how the tiny doors opened and closed, how the miniature lights actually worked. Sarah gasped at each new detail. But Keanu noticed she kept her hands firmly at her sides, not daring to touch. Elena stood behind her daughter, one hand resting protectively on Sarah's shoulder, the other clutching her worn purse tighter. "Sarah," Keanu said softly, "may I see your money again?" The little girl pulled out her cloth purse, carefully counting out her savings once more. $47.23, she announced, the coins clinking as she laid them on a nearby counter. "That's quite a lot," Keanu said seriously. You must have saved for a long time. 2 years, 3 months, and 14 days, Sarah replied without hesitation. I put away every quarter I found and all my birthday money. Tommy helped too. He gave me his ice cream money last week. Elena's breath caught at this revelation. Sarah, honey, you never told me about Tommy's ice cream money. He said you worked too hard for us to ask for expensive things, Sarah explained, her voice small but determined. He wanted to help. The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Mike busied himself straightening already neat shelves, giving them space. Keanu felt something shift inside him, a decision crystallizing. He thought about the millions he'd earned from his movies, the houses and cars and luxuries at his disposal. Yet here was a child who had saved ice cream money, who drew her dreams in crayon because she couldn't hold them in her hands. Elena, Keanu said, turning to face Sarah's mother directly, I know pride is important. I know accepting help can feel impossible sometimes. But I learned something from that neighbor who gave me the guitar. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give others is letting them give to us. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she held them back. Mr. Reeves. Keanu, he corrected gently. Keanu, she continued, you don't know us. You don't owe us anything. You're right, he agreed. I don't know you, but I know what it's like to dream. I know what it's like to have a mother who works herself to exhaustion for her children. And I know that sometimes magic happens in toy stores. He reached for his wallet, but what he was about to offer wasn't just money. It was hope, dignity, and a chance to show Sarah that dreams, even ones that cost $899, sometimes do come true. The choice he made next would spark headlines across the globe, but that wasn't why he made it. He made it because once, long ago, someone had done the same for him. Sometimes, the greatest gifts come wrapped in unexpected moments. Keanu pulled out his credit card, but what happened next surprised everyone. Sarah, he said, kneeling down to her level again, would you allow me to make an investment in your future? Before Elena could protest, he continued, I've seen your drawings. You have a real talent for design and architecture. This dollhouse, it's not just a toy. It's a tool for your imagination, a way to bring your dreams to life in 3D. Mike stepped forward, clearing his throat. If I may, he said, adjusting his glasses, I've been holding on to something special in the back room. He disappeared behind a curtain and returned with a wooden box. This is the Dollhouse Furniture Maker's design kit. It comes with blueprints, tiny tools, and materials to create custom pieces. It normally sells for an additional $299, but he glanced at Keanu with understanding. Sarah's eyes grew wide as Mike opened the box, revealing miniature carpenter's tools and delicate pieces of wood. Elena started to speak, but Keanu gently raised his hand. Mrs. Martinez, I understand your hesitation, but please, let me share something I learned from that neighbor who gave me the guitar. When we accept kindness, we give others the gift of giving. We create a circle of goodwill that grows beyond us. He turned to Sarah. Would you like to see inside the dollhouse? Really explore it. Sarah nodded eagerly, then looked at her mother for permission. Elena's resistance finally crumbled in the face of her daughter's joy. She gave a slight nod. What followed was magical. Mike carefully lifted the dollhouse from its display and placed it on a low table. Sarah, with trembling fingers, opened the tiny front door. Each room revealed new wonders: microscopic books on shelves, tiny paintings on walls, miniature carpets woven with intricate patterns. Look, Mama, Sarah exclaimed, pointing to a tiny desk in what could be a study. It's just like in my drawings, where you could do your homework for night school. Elena's tears finally fell. Keanu pretended not to notice, giving her time to compose herself as he discussed the dollhouse's architecture with Sarah. Mike quietly rang up the sale, adding the design kit without mentioning its price. Wait, Sarah said suddenly, running to the counter where her money still lay. She picked up her $47.23 and held it out to Keanu. "I want to help pay to—" The simple gesture caught everyone off guard. Keanu looked at the worn bills and collected coins, each one representing a small sacrifice, a choice between immediate pleasure and a bigger dream. "Tell you what," he said, accepting the money with the gravity it deserved, "this will be your contribution to your first project fund. When you create your first piece of custom furniture with that design kit, this money will help buy the materials." Sarah's face lit up with possibility. As Mike carefully wrapped the dollhouse and its accessories, Keanu noticed Elena watching her daughter. The weight of years of having to say no seemed to lift slightly from her shoulders. Outside, the crowd had grown, phones still recording through the windows. But inside Mike's toy emporium, a different kind of story was unfolding, not about a celebrity's generous act, but about the power of dreams and the ripple effect of kindness. As Mike and Keanu carried the dollhouse and design kit to Elena's modest car, Sarah clutched her notebook of drawings. But now, instead of just dreams on paper, she had a way to bring them into reality. "Remember," Keanu said as they prepared to leave, "every great architect started somewhere. Maybe some of them even started with dollhouses." The look of pure joy on Sarah's face as she hugged him goodbye was worth more than any price tag. But the real gift wasn't just a dollhouse. It was a message it carried. That dreams, no matter how big or small, deserve a chance to come true. As Elena's car pulled away, Keanu remembered something his mother once told him. "Kindness is a language the deaf can hear and the blind can see." Tonight, in a small toy store in Los Angeles, that language had spoken volumes. The next morning, Los Angeles woke up to a story that spread faster than the morning fog. Videos of the encounter at Mike's Toy Emporium had gone viral overnight. News channels picked up the story, but they focused on something unexpected. Not just Keanu's generosity, but the powerful dialogue about dreams, dignity, and the cycle of giving. Elena's phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Morning show producers, newspaper reporters, and social media influencers all wanted to hear their story. She declined most requests, choosing instead to protect Sarah's privacy. She did, however, send a simple thank you message to Keanu through Mike, who had become their unexpected guardian in the midst of the media storm. At Annie's Diner, where Elena worked the morning shift, customers started leaving larger tips, often with notes, "For your night school books" or "For Tommy's ice cream fund." Her manager, moved by the story, adjusted her schedule to accommodate her classes without cutting her hours. Sarah brought the dollhouse to show and tell at school. Her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, recognized an opportunity and turned it into a class project. The students began learning about architecture, scale models, and the importance of dreaming big. Sarah's drawings, once private fantasies, became inspiration for her classmates. Mike's Toy Emporium transformed overnight. People came from across the city, not just to see where the story happened, but because the store represented something they'd been missing, a place where old-fashioned values and modern kindness intersected. Mike started getting calls from artisans across the country, offering to create custom toys for children with special dreams. The dollhouse itself became more than just a toy. Sarah spent hours after school working with the design kit, creating tiny furniture pieces that reflected her growing understanding of architecture. Elena would sit with her, doing her GED homework at the kitchen table, while Sarah crafted miniature chairs and tables. Tommy, Sarah's 8-year-old brother, surprised everyone by showing interest in the technical aspects of the dollhouse. He helped Sarah wire the tiny lights and even started his own project, a miniature playground he designed for the dollhouse's backyard. One evening, a package arrived at their apartment. Inside was a worn acoustic guitar with a note. "Sometimes dreams come full circle. K." Elena found Sarah and Tommy taking turns strumming it that night, making up songs about houses filled with light and gardens full of flowers. The media attention eventually faded, but the impact remained. Local businesses, inspired by the story, started a dream fund for children in the community. The initiative provided resources for kids who, like Sarah, had big dreams but limited means. Keanu himself stayed away from the publicity, declining interviews about the incident. But Mike shared that the actor stopped by the store occasionally, always asking about Sarah's progress with her designs. He never wanted recognition, just updates on how the young architect in training was developing her craft. Elena noticed other changes too. Sarah's teachers reported increased confidence in her schoolwork. She started raising her hand more in math class, understanding now how numbers could help build dreams. The dollhouse became more than a toy. It was a symbol of possibility. The most profound change came during a parent-teacher conference. Mrs. Rodriguez showed Elena a paper Sarah had written titled, "What I Want to Be." The essay wasn't just about becoming an architect anymore. It was about creating spaces where other children could dream. Sarah had written about designing community centers with toy stores where every child could find their own special treasure. One photo from that night at Mike's Toy Emporium captured something remarkable. It wasn't the celebrity with the crying child or the moment of giving. It was Sarah's face as she opened the dollhouse for the first time, a look of pure possibility, of dreams transforming from paper to reality. That photo found its way to the wall of Mike's store, next to a new sign that read, "Every toy has a story. Every child has a dream." Below it, a jar collected donations for the Dream Fund, filling up with coins and bills from people who remembered what it was like to want something so badly it hurt. The true gift wasn't just a dollhouse or even the money. It was a reminder that in a world often criticized for its coldness, warmth still existed. That sometimes magic happened in unexpected places, like a small toy store on a winter evening in Los Angeles. 3 months after that night at Mike's Toy Emporium, the story continued to create positive change throughout Los Angeles. Sarah's dollhouse became the centerpiece of something much larger than anyone expected. Elena completed her GED with honors, studying late into the night at the tiny desk she'd set up next to Sarah's dollhouse. Her test scores earned her a scholarship to community college, where she enrolled in business management courses. The diner's owner offered her a junior manager position, inspired by her determination to build a better life for her children. Sarah's talent for design flourished beyond dollhouse furniture. Her school established an architecture club after several other students showed interest in her projects. Every Wednesday afternoon, children gathered to learn about building design, often using recycled materials to create their own miniature structures. Mike donated craft supplies from his store, turning the club into a highlight of the school week. Tommy found his own passion through the experience. The miniature playground he built for the dollhouse sparked an interest in engineering. His science teacher noticed his aptitude for problem solving and recommended him for a youth engineering program at the local science museum. The Dream Fund grew beyond its original scope. What started as a simple donation jar in Mike's store expanded into a registered nonprofit, helping children across Los Angeles pursue their creative passions. Local businesses regularly contributed, understanding that investing in children's dreams strengthened the entire community. Mike's Toy Emporium transformed into a community hub. Saturday mornings now featured dream workshop sessions, where children could explore different crafts and skills. Professional architects, inspired by Sarah's story, volunteered their time to teach basic design principles to young enthusiasts. Keanu's act of kindness inspired others to look for opportunities to help. Other celebrities quietly visited the store, not for publicity, but to connect with children who, like Sarah, had big dreams and limited resources. The store's back room became a special place where magic happened regularly, though most stories never made the news. 1 year later, Sarah's dollhouse sat in a place of honor in their new apartment, a modest but comfortable 2-bedroom space where each child had their own room. The house she'd drawn so many times in her notebook was slowly becoming reality, not through instant magic, but through the hard work and determination her mother modeled every day. Elena kept the worn acoustic guitar in their living room, a reminder that dreams could arrive in unexpected packages. Sarah had learned to play a few simple songs, often practicing while staring at her dollhouse, her mind full of future buildings she would design. The story of Keanu Reeves and the crying girl outside the toy store became part of Los Angeles folklore, not because of its celebrity connection, but because it reminded people that small acts of kindness could change lives in big ways. It wasn't just about a movie star buying an expensive toy. It was about recognizing and nurturing the dreams that lived in every child's heart. In Mike's store window, Sarah's original drawing hung next to a new sign. Dreams have no price tag. Below it, children pressed their faces against the glass each day, knowing this was a place where magic still happened. Sarah's story reached far beyond Los Angeles. A production company approached Elena about turning their experience into a documentary about community kindness. She agreed on one condition: that all proceeds would go to the Dream Fund, helping other children realize their aspirations. In the toy store's workshop one Saturday morning, Sarah stood in front of a group of young dreamers. Her dollhouse sat on a table behind her as she taught other children how to draft their first architectural plans. Her brother Tommy assisted, explaining the mechanics of the miniature elevator he'd built for their latest project. Elena watched from the doorway, her textbooks under her arm. She'd started taking architecture history classes at the community college, inspired by her daughter's passion. The worn guitar now displayed proudly on their wall had become a symbol, a reminder that kindness could reshape futures. Mike had expanded his store's workshop area, converting the storage room into a dream lab where children could work on their projects. Professional architects, engineers, and artists regularly volunteered their time, remembering their own childhood dreams and the mentors who'd helped them along the way. Keanu visited occasionally, always quietly and without fanfare. He'd sit in the back of workshops, watching Sarah teach other children about load-bearing walls and scale models. Sometimes he'd help a struggling young builder with their project, never mentioning the night that started it all. The Dream Fund had helped over 200 children by its first anniversary, providing everything from art supplies to science kits, musical instruments to sports equipment. Each gift came with a note: "Dreams grow when we share them." Sarah's original drawings hung in a special display at her school, inspiring other students to put their dreams on paper. Next to them stood a quote that had become the school's unofficial motto: "Sometimes angels don't have wings. They just have big hearts." The dollhouse remained Sarah's most treasured possession, but it had become more than a toy. It was a bridge between imagination and reality, a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts aren't the objects themselves, but the doors they open to new possibilities. As for Keanu, when asked about that night in interviews, he'd simply smile and say, "The real story isn't about me. It's about a little girl who dared to dream, and a community that learned to dream along with her." In the years following that winter evening outside Mike's toy emporium, the ripples of kindness continued to spread. Sarah graduated middle school with honors. Her graduation speech focused on how dreams take flight when communities come together. Her architectural drawings now filled multiple notebooks, each one more detailed than the last. Elena completed her business degree and partnered with Mike to open a second location of the toy store, this one with an entire floor dedicated to the Dream Lab. The program they created became a model for similar initiatives across the country, proving that toy stores could be more than just retail spaces. They could be incubators of imagination. Tommy turned his miniature playground design into a real project, working with the city to build accessible play spaces in underserved neighborhoods. His original blueprint, sketched next to his sister's dollhouse, hung in City Hall as a reminder that age doesn't limit innovation. The worn guitar found company on their wall, joined by Sarah's first architectural award, Tommy's engineering certificates, and Elena's diploma. Each item told part of their story, but together they painted a picture of transformation sparked by a single act of kindness. Mike retired but never really left the store. He could still be found most mornings in his rocking chair by the window, telling wide-eyed children about the night when kindness changed everything. The Dream Fund he helped establish had grown into a national organization, supporting young dreamers across America. And somewhere in Hollywood, Keanu Reeves kept the original $47.23 from Sarah's savings in a frame on his office wall, not as a reminder of what he gave, but of what he received. Proof that sometimes the greatest wealth comes from helping others achieve their dreams. The camera pans across Mike's toy emporium one final time, lingering on Sarah's original drawing next to the bustling dream lab. Children work on their projects while parents watch with pride. The worn, open sign still buzzes softly, welcoming new dreamers every day.